live. Back again, folks. Somberly to discuss. Did I say that like a poem? Was that right? Somberly to discuss? Okay, never mind. I'm terrible at this. Anyway, somberly to discuss The Dark Tower.
Jeff to the Dark.
Book 7 of The Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and this is our second discussion. You're here with the usual crew, folks, starting with the captain.
Yeah, today, guys, you'll find me, right now I'm actually on the road. I'm driving behind some bozo in a white van. He's veering side to side really erratically. He looks super distracted. I think I see 2 dogs in the back seat, and they're, like, jumping around back there. The dude is so distracted. I'm just going to call the cops on this bozo.
Good.
Oh, how things would change.
Oh, man. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got Tipman here for the final book of The Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah. Final book, final section of The Dark Tower. And I am Brett, the director.
All right.
And I'm sad. A little bit.
You know, we'll have to discuss this.
Yeah.
We've got lots of theories. This is completely... I mean, I was super excited for you guys to get here, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we've got to talk a lot. I want to say, I think... Captain, when did you pick up this first book? Because that's when I read it. I remember you were reading it, and you're like, you should check this book out.
Yeah, you know, that was my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
I picked up book 1, The Gunslinger, and read it.
So-
And was hopelessly confused by it.
And,
Yes.
And unknowingly also picked up the last line of the last book.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And I think that puts it's before the whole series was done then, because it was completed in 2004. 1970 to 2004. So,
Jeez.
however, it was not until later that I revisited The Gunslinger and then read through it and then decided to continue on to Drawing of the Three, which hooked me.
Now, curiosity. What has a longer span so far? George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, or this?
I think George R. does.
Already? And he still has 2 books to go?
I thought didn't the first book come out in the late 90s?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's longer. Yeah.
I don't know that anyone's going to be slower than good old George R.R.
He's too busy editing and writing other books.
As
Still be
long
longer?
as it kicks ass, I don't care.
What's up?
Wouldn't King still be longer?
Right, yeah.
If it came out in the late 70s?
Oh, yeah, 70s. Duh. We're thinking about something different.
And that was 2001?
Yeah. That's a good
I think
point.
it finished. So that's
King
20.
is longer. I forgot. For some reason, I was
5
thinking
years?
like when King started writing it again, not when he. Because remember, he started in the 70s,
Yeah.
and then quit
Yes,
for a
he did.
super long time.
Yeah.
So
did.
I forgot about that.
But,
That's my own mathematical.
I'm still thinking
negligence.
It's going to end up being
Martin
though.
might
Yeah.
outlast him.
Got a Brett bet on this?
It's been like 3... Yeah.
We should do a
a
Brett bet.
non-book-related Brett
In
bet.
20 years, we'll find out.
Yeah. If you go 1970 2004, you're talking 34 years.
How about this?
So-
How about this? If we're still doing this podcast in 15 years when the last book comes out, we just drink anyway.
Yeah. There you go.
Deal.
Yeah.
As a really interesting and random side fact, Stephen King started writing this series when he was age...
Ooh.
Try to guess. What?
21.
19.
19. Yeah, it's got to be
19.
19. It's got to be 19.
You guessed
Wow. I said 21 and then I'm like,
definitely
why would
19.
I even say that over 19? 19, the only number that matters besides 99.
When did he finish it? Do you know, Andrew?
I don't know offhand.
Because that would be a real... Like how long
Finish
it took
it?
him
He
to
finished
write
it in
us.
2004.
Yeah.
It took him 19
How old
years.
was he
Yeah.
saying? When did he get hit? That was the year.
1999.
He got hit in 99.
Yeah, it was 99. So he was, if he was 19 in 1970, then you put 30 years on 19, 49. He was 51, maybe?
I don't know. Enough
It's a
math.
bunch of numbers.
49?
and,
Discuss the book.
Yeah, anyway, you're right. Screw this. Let's discuss the book. Okay. So, we end with Eddie's funeral, which, by the way, I would like to reiterate that Eddie died through a bullet in the eye,
Yeah. Just like Cuthbert.
just like Cuthbert. And
Whatever it is.
I think it's Cuthbert, but I don't know. Cuthbert, maybe something in the middle.
They say both, I think, in the audiobook, so I don't know.
They do, yeah.
So Jake and Roland can't wait. Susanna's going to handle the funeral, and they got to go immediately because they know they're running out of time.
Right.
So they jump through the portal that Shimi opens, and Susanna has directions to ride a train alone if they don't make it back in time, right? I think that's what happened at least. And they get to land in that sweet-ass gas station that they landed in 1977, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something along those
Something
lines.
around there.
1977. And the same motherfucker's there. Excuse my French. What'd you guys think of the lady that Roland met there?
Yeah, you're talking about Irene Tassenbaum.
Tassenbaum.
Yeah, she, I thought she was a little bit of a novel character at first, but she really, really quickly grew on me. I'm like, man, you could tell, like, this lady doesn't get to do a lot of important stuff in her life, and she immediately gets the base feeling deep in her heart that, like, what I'm doing right now matters more than anything else I've ever done in my whole life. So, which is pretty, remarkable. And I think it was extra cool that she is the wife of one of the founding originators of the frickin' Sombra.
Oh, yeah, Sombra
Corporation
as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's actually really interesting. I don't know why, but I wanted to put a banana instead of Sombra. Was it a banana or was it a pineapple? It was like a fruit magnet instead of the Sombra magnet.
Oh, yeah.
On the fridge.
Oh, banana.
Anyway, banana, yeah, of course it was banana. So what do you guys... So she drives this old IH, International Harvester pickup truck, which means it's really freaking old, by the way. And then the gardener. So Roland comes up and he's like, where's Stephen King? And he's got a gun and everything. And the gardener's like, he might be over here and here. I'd be like, dude, why am I hiring this gardener? This murderer can come up to my driveway and the gardener will tell him where I'm walking.
Maybe you should pay your gardeners more, Stephen King.
Sorry. I just thought it was that way.
Well, that, I'm surprised, like, everyone, like, just bows down to Roland.
Yeah.
The
He's
store
got
clerk.
He's got an aura about him.
The store clerk remembered him.
Yeah.
That's why he did.
He's like, oh,
Yeah. Right as he was cheating her for some extra
another
weight on the scale.
$1.20 on the scale.
Yeah.
Ah, so bad.
And the woman, she goes and is like, are you gonna kill me? It's like, no. All right, I'll help you out.
Yeah. She got the sense. It was like one of those Ka things again, you know?
Yeah.
She got the sense.
Yeah.
Stephen King certainly uses Ka to shape his character's behaviors, as we will discuss towards the end.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm reading real time, and all I can think of is Tevian. That he's one of those special people that bends all the threads to them.
Exactly. Except that at least in the Wheel of Time, they explain that a little better. how it works in the universe itself. But that's awesome. And now we're getting to the somber part, though. So they got to save Steven. I can talk, right?
Got to stave him.
And Steven gives this really, really good description about the guy, what he's doing, the ladies that saw him, his walk, his thoughts. It felt very real to me, this whole thing. Like baked in the middle of this fantastical, epic, which kind of threw me a little bit off. But and then, as the captain pointed out pre-show, the guy, what was his name? Dave Smith?
Brian Smith.
I wanted to say Dave Smith, but it's Brian Smith. Brian Smith is a real guy who hit him.
It is. He is. I did quite a bit of digging on this topic just because I was randomly diving headfirst down some rabbit holes in preparation of the show. And I got really interested in this whole part of the story. So that the character Brian Smith, who plays the really reckless driver in the book, is the real character. His name was actually Brian Smith in real life. And there's a lot of parallels between the real guy who hit Stephen King and this Joker in the story who kills Jake. And there's a really, really odd coincidence that happened in real life, according to, the sequence of events that happened with this guy. So in real life, Brian Smith was distracted. He was driving distracted. He hits Stephen King with a van and almost kills him. And Stephen King doesn't prosecute him for any kind of money or like medical expenses, but he tries to get the guy's license removed because he's an unsafe driver. Brian Smith in real life had several violations for traffic violations for like driving while distracted or driving under
even
the
a
influence.
Speeding ticket or a parking ticket. That's what he kept saying, right?
Right. And yeah, in real life and in the book, the character like totally should not be driving.
I wonder if he said that in real life also.
Yeah, I don't know.
He may have. Yeah, he may have. But to draw this to a close, they ended up only I think Brian Smith served like a couple of months in jail and then lost his license for 1 year only, and then got it back. And Stephen King was, understandably upset by that. But a few years after the incident, Brian Smith died. He OD'd on drugs on Stephen King's birthday. Weird. Which is a really weird coincidence.
I wonder if there's any link between him being depressed about what he did or...
I was thinking that's probably the case.
Stephen King killed him.
Yeah. Those black magic.
So this isn't enough. Stephen King hired Roland to go fucking assassinate him.
Yeah. So
take your option A.
Brian. No, what really happened is on the next fucking cycle, Roland didn't fuck up. He wasn't losing Jake again, so he just went over to Brian Smith and iced him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could look at it one way. Stephen King knows black magic, or B, like the dude, I'm sure he got a ton of national coverage and shaming that he hit, that he had done so many traffic violations that he picked that day out specifically to just be like, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah,
possibly.
So, it's a weird coincidence.
Do they think it was
kind of a weird,
on purpose, suicide OD, or do they think that it was an accidental OD?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I did a little bit of digging in that too. The guy had several injuries from car accidents that he had been in, and he was taking several heavy painkillers for back problems specifically.
Always bad.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the painkillers that he was taking for his back pain that he OD'd on. September 19th, King's birthday.
Jeez.
Yep, he decided one too many. That's super black magic-esque. That's
just out of curiosity. Is Stephen King's birthday on the 19th?
Yeah, it is. It's September 19th. Yes, Ben. It is indeed.
This guy died on the 19th.
So
on his birthday.
Yeah,
good lord.
They started writing this book at 19.
Maybe Roland got it right on the 19th cycle. I don't know.
Dude, 19 just it never ends.
19 is coincidentally also probably the amount of times I'd have to read the series to fully understand it.
Oh my god.
Right.
That is crazy to think about a little bit, right?
That is.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if he was just sitting there looking at all these events being like,
oh my god, I gotta put this
so
in
many
book.
19s. I need to put it. It must be Ka. Dude, I'm convinced now, after reading this book, after finishing this book, I'm convinced that Stephen King sits at home and is just like, Ka, looking for it everywhere. He's just like, I know it's fucking real. I can't let him know, but I'm going to put it in this book. It's going to be like L. Ron Hubbard, and he's just going to make a fucking religion out of his writing.
The Church of 19.
The Church of 19. Discordia.
Andrew. He actually got hit in 1999. Was that the date?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that date is accurate, or at least the year is. The year is accurate. He was in the book. King was hit in 1999. Same with real life. He was hit by Brian Smith in 1999.
He did say that he made alterations to the streets he was walking on and stuff to kind of save his summer cottage or whatever. But
yeah,
that's super interesting. And unfortunately, in the book at least, our good buddy Jake takes the heat for it. Although, I gotta say this. In the car, Roland decided he was gonna take the hit.
Yeah.
He did decide that.
Yes.
I think that is so critical to the end.
Yeah.
And we could talk about why when we get there. But I think it's so critical to the end.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
An amazing accomplishment for him, who'd give up everything, the Dark Towers, everything.
He renounced it.
Yeah.
He essentially renounced it.
Right.
That's saying something.
It's like,
because
I can't let Jake die.
Every other time, who knows? But this time, he gets the horn.
Yeah.
Why? I wonder, is it because he renounced that moment that Jake was more important?
Right.
Wow. I mean, that's...
Hey, man. I also think that he is all three of the doors. His hip is the pusher.
His hip is the pusher.
Because without his hip, Jake would never be in front of that van.
Well, it's so funny because
his addiction to the tower is the addict.
Yeah.
And then what was the third door?
The prisoner.
He's a prisoner in the Dark Tower.
Forever. He's a prisoner to the tower.
He's all three of the doors.
What's the dark lady?
The Lady of Shadows.
The third one is the Lady of Shadows.
The only team member who survived, by the way. So maybe she has her own door.
Yeah.
Well, then Roland, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of. But he doesn't remember anything. Just like he's kind of linked. But it's kind of like a new person.
We'll have to go.
Susanna's really the only one that has memories, right?
No, she lost them.
Did she lose them too? Oh
yeah,
she did.
It's really interesting. But Jake, well, I guess we have to do this now, and we should probably do, as we discussed, 3 different drinks for Jake, who died 3 times.
Yeah,
3 times.
Triple shot.
Once
Jake.
for the Man in Black / pusher, pushing him. Once for Roland dropping him, and once for taking a hit by another car to save Stephen King's life. Cheers, folks.
To Jake.
Triple shot to you, Jake Chambers.
Yeah.
I actually killed mine. I'll be right back for it.
I'm getting really low.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll wait here.
Unfortunately, so it had been a long time since I read this. And I realized that Jake died so many times in the stories that I kind of forgot that he died again there.
Yeah.
I legitimately did.
Yeah.
So when we were reading it, and then Roland was like, and I realized, they have that moment in the car where they realize, like, one of them's going to die to save this stupid
Jake
author.
realized that one of them was going to die, and then Roland's like, why are you lying to me?
Yeah. And he caught it. And I thought to myself, I'm like, how did they? I don't remember how they got out of this. I'm not joking. I was like, it's been that long, and Jake died so many times, I forgot. So I was like, how did they get out of this? But then
I was almost convinced that Roland was possibly dying there. I was like, man, this might take a really weird turn where, like, Jake, because he has been kind of like grooming Jake to be the new Roland up to this point, and he has been kind of turning into a true gunslinger. And I was like, is that the whole point of this?
Yeah.
That he needs to fucking turn Jake, his only true son, into the one, because it'd be like a sons versus son thing. The Crimson King's got Mordred and Roland's got Jake, and I was like, this is gonna be fucking crazy.
Ooh.
And then, okay, Jake's dead. Forget that poetry.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking that, I'm like, and then it happened, and I'm like, and then I thought to myself, I go, wait, does he come back again? And then I was like,
that's what I was waiting for. I'm like,
and then I was like, I guess, and then I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, maybe he did die there. And I'm like, damn. Then it kind of hit. So when it first happened, I was like in denial for a little bit, because I was like, I don't really remember this. But I realized, it's been so long, and he died so many bloody times. It's like...
So, do you remember what I said to you the moment I read that? So, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen but wants to see Naruto. Skip forward about 30 seconds.
Yeah, skip if you're going to watch Naruto.
I'll clap when I'm done. But I thought I was like, as soon as Jake died, I'm like, there's no way he's killing Jake again. So, there's definitely going to be some type of, like, pain situation here where they just, like, res everybody from the dead afterwards. It's like, the Dark Tower is restored and all the beams are restored, and then they're just like, we're alive. Like, please don't be that.
Yeah.
But then luckily, I like the way he did it, because we kind of get the characters back. We kind of get a happy ending, but it's not
kind of come back.
them. It's not
But-
them.
Yeah,
them,
right.
It's the fact that they don't have their memories makes
not
it
them.
not cheap enough for me. It makes it kind of like, oh, that's a little bittersweet, but it's
Well,
kind of sweet
They don't
enough.
have the memories,
Yes.
but they have like the feelings.
The feeling, right?
Like, I know you, I love you.
It also
Honestly-
reminded me of Kimi no Nawa a bit.
Yeah, it's almost
It's
like
you got that feeling, but you don't have the memories.
It's almost like Gan created a fake pocket universe just to reward Susanna,
Right.
in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because she's
through
even
enough.
said, like, they made sure that you knew it was obvious.
Yeah.
Nazala, like all the fake shit.
Yeah.
I drove to Koro Sport. So they just made sure that you knew and that Susanna knew it wasn't Keystone.
Right.
Was kind of the important point there. So I
Right.
think you know deep down that we have to ask ourselves the question, is the Matrix better than real life or not? Would you take that pill? I don't know. I'm just joking.
Ignorance is bliss.
The point I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
or it's like
exactly.
a quantum universe, you know? Like it's definitely an Eddie. It's closer. You know, it's the real Eddie, but it's not that Eddie.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, you know, there's no proof that anybody's that person anyway. We could all just be imagining our own existence for all we know.
Eddie being the big brother this time around.
yeah, I know.
With
Different,
Jake
right?
being the little brother.
Yeah. Instead,
Yeah. It was so funny it was funny when Susanna's like, no, I don't want to meet your brother. Fuck him, he's terrible. And like, no, my little brother's awesome. And it's Jake.
The other point I think that we're making there is that if not for Eddie's older brother, he would have been clean.
Yeah.
So there's another like major point there because Susanna's like, is he clean? What if he's a junkie? Kind of like never got out of New York, never got clean.
Right.
And you could see that it was actually the catapult life that he was kind of guided towards that put him there. But
Although there could also be alternative universes where his brother's not a factor and he's still a junkie.
exactly.
Who knows?
We don't know.
There's all sorts of factors. It makes it
Yeah.
impossible. The whole nature versus nurture debate,
Yeah.
I think, is stupid. It's nature and nurture.
It's
you know?
both, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So, Jake gets buried. And I was honestly worried about Oi for a tiny bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we find out later that wasn't, something to be worried about at that point in time.
Yeah.
And then also, I kind of forgot a little bit about this until later on when it's mentioned, but I forgot about Roland's vision back in Wizarding Glass. And then I remembered Roland's vision.
Which
And
vision?
in Wizarding Glass, Roland, when he looks in the glass, he sees a bumbler impaled.
Oh,
upon
yeah,
a spike.
yeah.
Was it the one at the end? When he looked back into the...
No, it was during Wizarding Glass when he was before Susan died,
Right.
and he was first became aware of the Dark Tower. He actually saw that future. Which, by the way,
I forgot about that too. Until now.
yeah. So then I forgot about that, but then I realized it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man. So we kind of knew that was coming.
He wasn't impaled by a stake, though, right?
He was. Well, it was a branch.
Oh, was it?
A
branch,
Oh,
yeah.
I missed that part. I thought he was snapped in two by Mordred.
He
was
first.
first.
He was.
But it just broke his back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the branch
Yeah.
that impaled him, Roland broke.
He broke it to make he broke it specifically to help with their fire, right?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of in a way his own doing. In a way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not that it would have mattered, to be honest.
Right.
It maybe would
Yeah.
have changed their ending dialogue. But
Yeah.
Right. Real quick, guys. I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts at this point in the book. We've seen Callahan dies right out of the bag in the beginning of this book. Eddie has died. Now Jake has died. And I'm like, oh my god. At this point in the book, I was like, dude, nobody's going to make it out of this motherfucker alive.
Actually,
I'm like, this is terrible.
So here's my take on that. I actually said it before I knew Jake died. When we were going into this book, I had a short discussion with Jeff, and he was ahead of me. And I had just started reading, and I basically said to him, jokingly, I thought, I'm like, dude, Roland's going to be the only one that fucking survives this. It's he's the only one that deserves to die, kind of, because it's his quest, and he's going to be the only one that survives. That wasn't completely true, but I thought I was joking. I thought the next person to die was going to be Roland.
So I'd like to point out that when we were going into this book, we had all voted that Callahan was going to die, and that I think someone said Oi.
Roland.
And then Roland. Others said Roland.
Yeah, I said Oi was going to die. We all agreed on Roland and Callahan. Right. Yeah. And then I also thought Oi would not make it. But that was it.
And it turns out that we were a little wrong.
We got a drink for like everybody
I know.
during the recap episode.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, Roland buries Jake, and then you hear the conversation between Stephen King and it's really interesting because I thought about the timing of this, but obviously this had happened and Stephen King was writing these after, as he should have been, as he thinks he should have been, as he was writing in this book. And he was writing the aches that he felt himself writing to Roland.
Right.
Which is why until he got hit, Roland had them.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to make Roland feel that. You know what I mean? He's just like writing it in. And then when he gets to the point where he's writing himself get hit, he's like, oh, I guess Roland doesn't need those anymore. And maybe by that point, he was feeling a little better.
Yeah. Well, I do kind of think that there's a small argument to be made that this whole series is like a metaphor for his writing process.
I read a really cool theory that was related to that.
Really?
But not writing process, so to speak, but part of it is writing process. It was more about like his inner thoughts, which I'll share with you guys when we get towards discussing the end. But I think you have a great thought there, and you can share it now if you want. I was just gonna say, because like I notice, a lot of it is outright stated. Obviously he talks about like how, he's in the thing and he's writing the book, so obviously it's linked to his writing process. But I was just talking about how like most writers, and Jeff confirmed that Stephen King does this a lot, are write from beginning to end first and then go back and kind of fix and erase and edit. And he says that directly to the person that was drawing at the end, that was helping him fight the Crimson Kings, like, draw them first and then you can go back and erase, like, do it all first. So like that's kind of like a link between that and the idea of, I don't want to get to the end, but just the idea of like going through this journey, getting to the end, and then starting back over again, over and over and over, until you finally have some form of fucking completion and happiness that has yet to happen for Roland, which could potentially be him. Yeah. So I'll actually bring this up now just because why not? And also we'll have way more to talk about anyway.
Also really quick, corporations keep getting in his way of success, which probably happened a lot in the beginning, because I remember hearing the story about the spike he had on his bedroom wall, and he'd keep putting rejection letters on it until it was full. He had to like add another spike. So the Sombra Corporation constantly fucking up the world could potentially be his rejection letters.
I was going to say that it was really interesting to read this, because while he's injured and recovering from his near-death experience being hit by Brian Smith, he wrote these books, and he also wrote his autobiography, which he was talking about his recovery and his situation, which he chronicles in a much more factual light. But maybe not. Maybe there's a lot of fact in here too that's hidden, but it was pretty interesting. The theory that I thought was really cool is the entire story is kind of a philosophical symbol for King and how he feels about stories.
Right.
And how Roland represents one part of him that wants to get to the end.
Right.
And to complete a story. And the Crimson King represents a part of him that knows that when you get to the end, it's all done.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to stop them from going to the end.
Right.
Like, and there's so many quotes that they put in there where they were like, and you remember they're like, please don't go. Are you going to change your quest now? It wasn't like kill Roland. It was like change your quest, change your quest. And they said that like both of them are versions of Stephen King. And the Crimson King is just a later version of Roland that realized that he was in the loop.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to abandon the loop.
Shit.
Just get somebody to abandon the loop.
And Roland probably in that case represents the version of him that he likes that actually gets down to business and like goes after the writing.
Also,
but
when
then
you get
he
to the
represents himself, the procrastinating lazy fuck that would never have finished the book without the Roland.
But it's also
came back and said, "Finish it."
But it's also the journey over the journey over the destination.
Yeah. Over the
right?
destination.
And so he's saying like when you get to the end for Roland, who's just a character. Who's just a character in Stephen King's mind to Roland. Every time he gets to the end, it's a symbol for his relationship between the writer and the reader.
Right.
Because when you get to the end, it is over.
Yeah.
Until somebody else picks up the book, and then Roland begins again down that track.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cycle of existing in Stephen King's mind where the story really ends. It's just an interesting thought experiment.
Right.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to more of what we think about the end when we get to the end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, now I forgot.
Jake is being buried.
Dead Jake, yes.
Yeah.
Jake. Times.
Dude, that scene was so lonely.
Yes.
Like, we had already been crushed by Eddie's death.
I know.
And then when Jake gets buried alone in the woods with Roland and Oi, and then Irene Tannenbaum knows about it, but she doesn't attend the funeral. It's like, dude, nobody even knows Jake is out here. This is so freaking sad.
Yeah. You know what else is sad about it? Is they just saved the universe. Literally.
Yeah.
Like all of existence.
Did they yet, though, at that point?
They did. They saved the author.
They saved the author.
That was the last part.
They did another step.
Eddie died when they were saving the beams, and Jake died when they saved the author.
Yeah.
And that actually saved the universe. Like that was
gave it a fighting chance.
There's actually multiple acknowledgments that was the true final battle. Like the rest is really just
kind of happens.
Roland's obsession.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to happen anymore. The world will regenerate at this point.
Roland really didn't even have any. I mean, I don't know if we want to get to the end already.
Not yet. Yeah, we'll get there though.
To do with it.
I mean, they had to stop the Crimson King, or else he would.
He was trapped himself on some tower, sitting undead, waiting for Roland to come there just to throw little grenades at him.
He still had his minions and controlled all that stuff. He could have built it back up.
He went insane. So the thing that happened is he had already gone insane, killed most of his minions, and then when Roland and the Ka-Tet destroyed their operation at Blue Haven, like that was it. That was really not much left, and he was an insane old man at that point. And actually, by the way, they say he was insane because he had all of the other wizard balls.
Yeah, 7 of them.
And he was using all of them but black, and I think, did he even have pink?
He might have
had the pink one. But he had all the other ones. So he was using them all, and he saw ahead of time his defeat, and so he went insane. And who knows?
No wonder he went cuckoo for Cocoa.
Yeah. I mean, you think about
Cocoa Puffs.
I know he's like half eld and half part of the Prim.
Yeah.
But like, we saw what one wizard ball did to one person.
Yeah.
And even one time or 2 times that Roland used it did to him.
Yeah.
What would all 6 of them be doing to you? I don't know. You know.
I wonder if those balls are at all a metaphor for his, like, because he used to be, was he just an alcoholic or was he a drug addict before?
No, he was a drug addict.
So, like, you know, using these, like, things that can, like, destroy you to get insight, like, because he used to use it as, like, you know, inspiration. Yeah. Even though later he realized it's probably kind of not so much the case because his writing is still amazing after he's been sober, but probably felt that way, you know, and the amount that you're willing to destroy yourself in order to accomplish a goal that you think is so important.
Right.
You know?
And then when does it become that you're just making an excuse?
An excuse. Right.
Instead of it actually helping you anymore.
Right.
Like, do you really need it?
Yeah, exactly.
Really interesting. But Roland, who's very devastated by this because he actually tried to die in his hip.
Yeah.
His bum hip.
The pusher.
Yeah, the pusher decided to collapse right at the last moment. And so instead he ends up going alone to New York with
He goes with Irene Tassenbaum.
alone without the Ka-Tet, with Irene. Yeah.
And they have an intimate, also lonely and yet intimate moment in a hotel room together, which I was like, dude, this feels real. Yeah. Like, dude, this feels like something that would really happen.
Every girl that's not Susanna that's alone with Roland for like 10 minutes wants to like just be with him in some fashion. It's really weird. Yeah, like all throughout the book, he's either hooking up with someone or has like a strange connection with like every.
Well, I think it's the loner type girls that he's always around because it's like the scarred bartender.
Yeah.
The old, well, not old. She wasn't that old, but she was like Callahan's cleaning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lady.
Yeah. Wasn't that the one where he's just like, I feel like she needs this?
Yeah. No, that was this one. This one.
Oh, was that this one?
Yeah.
Was it really?
That one, he was into it. Yeah. He was into that. Actually, when he left, she even said, or he's like, I suppose I could be your man kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's right. That's
right.
Yeah.
He kind of like, that one was a little more for him.
Yeah.
Rosalita. She was like a frontierswoman.
Yeah. But this one, he was more like he needed the comfort, and he could tell that she definitely needed the comfort.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So anyway, I need a refill.
Cool. But yeah, I totally liked this section of the story. It breathed some more humanity into Roland's character. Mm-hmm. Because, like, the old Roland in Book 1 was still distraught over the loss of Jake.
Yeah.
But he still pushed on, whereas the Roland that we see now in the Dark Tower, after Jake's gone, he's like, oh my... He's like, the Roland that we get now is utterly devastated.
Yeah.
So, I think it shows a lot of growth for Roland specifically as, the evolving of his character.
Yeah.
Over the series.
It's weird, though, because, like... It gives it a whole new perspective of like what exactly the growth is, because he's like been there already.
It does.
He's been there already. His mind is erased, but like, did they insert old flaws back into it? Like,
are you talking about his ability to know stuff that he shouldn't know?
No, because he was like, he was just talking about how like he was like, sad when Jake died the first time, kind of, or regretful, but like he was so devastated this time, and like how much his character has evolved. But like, it's basically, I mean, it's the same Roland, just without certain experiences that happened, afterwards.
Well, so
but that will happen again.
He still had
anyway.
that like connection, to. I mean, if you think back to the Gunslinger, he didn't know why he instantly loved this boy,
But I think that every time unfolds differently. I think it does unfold differently. Yeah. I don't think it's a perfect cycle.
I like to think so.
And
I think that the goal is that he needs to get enough to happen to where the circumstances happen that he could change, but every time he goes through it, even though his memories change, there's something instinctual that changed deeper in him, like on the subconscious level, that it relates to, like what you said, I love this boy really quick. Like when he first was like, there was clearly like maybe that happened over time.
Right.
Maybe several. We'll get
several
to that.
times through.
Several times.
I know me and Jeff were talking about that. Yeah. About how he just knew stuff in the book. Like, how do you know this is gonna be?
Right.
And was up ahead in the winter. Like, I just know.
I just feel it.
Yeah. Is Ka just like his memories resurfacing?
Like
and slowly molding it to the outcome that he wants? Like, maybe there is no power. It's just the benefit of instinctual experience.
Maybe.
Well, there's that, but I think there's also Ka, because they had that whole like mind melding as too, and
but there could potentially be powers without Ka.
Yeah.
I think there is more to Roland than just Ka.
Right. But think about it though, like being able to tell what each other are thinking could also just be an overlap at those moments of them thinking the exact same thing 1,000 times before. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So it could just be them embedding instinct, almost as if, kind of like we instinctually know we have to eat and breathe and all these things,
Yeah.
Just like over the course of like thousands of these iterations, I just kind of know like, oh, yeah, Jake said this last time.
But it'd be interesting to see if those were at like key points where like they're always the same at those points that they always know it's always
there's always like a convergence, like they get to certain
and then
unifications.
There's like splits,
I honestly think it's different. I think that the path is too many times, but the true path, like the path that Roland has, is always the same.
Do you think it's always the same people? I think there's different Jakes in different worlds.
Right.
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that all works.
I don't know how that works either. Where does he even go? Like, because we have Jake, we have Susanna. We actually have the Susanna that survived. So the real Susanna.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She exists somewhere.
She exists somewhere.
Yeah.
She can't be where she was before. So, like, does this reset?
But it doesn't Roland go back to the real world that can't be rewound?
No, so
that's the other question that I had about the ending.
I think it depends. So like I think that Susanna
1999 and then Roland's world, was he still in his world and that's the world that can't be rewound?
They say that there's kind of two twins Keystone worlds. One is
Keystone worlds,
Roland's world. Midworld, I guess.
Yeah, Midworld.
And then one is
Jake's,
Keystone New York.
New York, yeah.
And Keystone New York has a whole world though.
Yeah.
And actually we know for fact that Eddie Dean did not come from Keystone New York.
Right.
However, I suspect that Susanna did come from Keystone New York.
Maybe that's why she survived.
Maybe.
But we also know for a fact that she didn't go back to Keystone, New York.
We know for a fact she didn't go back.
So my question is...
So maybe she's already dead.
I was going to say, my question is, was Roland in Midworld? Because that's the other Keystone world when he traveled back in time, which is impossible in Keystone worlds.
But I don't know if it's impossible for Gan though.
What I think is that Keystone worlds, in my opinion, are probably resettable within the confines of like a new game. So they can reset it every time he reaches the tower.
Yeah, but after that they continue on.
But within that, that's a constant flowing time, and only the other worlds can be manipulated.
Yeah,
and visited
that'd be
and stuff
interesting
like that.
for sure. It's really interesting to think about that. So, and like it brings a certain philosophical and also storyline thoughts about how this could all play out. So,
but let's keep this in mind. We can talk about this more in the next episode when we get to the end.
We could digest it a little bit. There may be more to talk about with it when we get there too. But afterwards,
what happened after then? Jake's dead.
Well, they
traveled to New York.
Yeah. Roland got a few new outfits. None of them, unfortunately, were a hoodie because that's what they fucking needed. I don't know about you guys, but reading that whole section where they were going through that, like describing how cold it was, but like not cold enough to matter, but cold enough to make you ungodly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Because
they needed a parka.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they go to New York, and then Roland gets to meet Susanna's
godfather.
I guess it's more like her uncle or whatever.
Her kinfolk.
Yeah.
I thought it was
her godfather or whatever. Yeah. And they had a pretty cool story actually, the way that they were running that business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they give you a quick synopsis of all of the previous people that Roland has encountered in the Keystone world. So you get to hear kind of how things resolved with John, what's his name from the last book?
No, John Chambers, what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
John, the dude from New England who helped them escape.
John...
But the guy with the boat and who...
Yes, the dude with the boat.
Helped him.
He was one of the founding members of the Tet Corporation, and they kind of give you a history on him and his family. Same with Odetta.
John Farson?
No. Is that the guy?
No, John Farson is the villain from Midworld.
That's right.
Being manipulated by Randall
John
Flagg.
Cullum?
Cullum, that's it.
Cullum, yes, that's it. Cullum. They give you a little backstory on him, so you find out what happens to him. You get to find out what happened to Calvin Tower and Deepno, Aaron Deepno. And apparently, I want to say it's Aaron Deepno's niece or daughter, who's one of the major. Yeah, she's one of the major CEOs of the tech corporation, in conjunction with Susanna's super rich uncle.
Yeah.
Oh, interestingly too is Deepno is also a villain. It's Aaron Deepno, who is a brother, another brother of not the young lady Deepno's father, but their other brother that is a villain in another book of Stephen King's. And they said that like maybe he was just, trying to draw your attention to the book. And then I'm thinking, maybe not.
I thought it was funny. You mentioned like just really quick side note, characters from other books, and I did a quick search because I was like, I wanna read like all the books that are referenced in this at some point. So I did like all books referenced in Dark Tower. It's basically just every Stephen King book. It is. Like, oh, this is gonna take me forever.
Yeah. Actually, there's people who have like just devoted their life to pulling out the little hidden
sections,
hidden concepts that tie
references
into the Dark Tower. Yeah.
Just like in the tech corporation.
Yep. Exactly. Is their job, just like in the tech corporation.
There's a lot of like really, I think there's a lot of like real life references as well, or non-Stephen King references as well. Obviously, we know like of Wizard of Oz and stuff, but I think there's other like mythological references he makes. Like Mordred, I think, has a connection to the actual story of Arthur Eld and stuff like that.
Well, all of the Dark Tower, it's highly influenced by that.
Yeah.
By that.
The whole point
Mordred
of it is that it's a story, basically. Yeah. So
and
it references stories a lot.
Yeah, so it's just definitely
really cool.
Really tough.
I really like the concept.
It is.
It's really, every time, even though it's like, I mean, it's not like impossible to like take these elements and be like, oh, that'd be cool, it would fit here. But every time he does it, I'm like, oh, cool.
I'm still trying to think of who could get away with turning snitches into sneeches,
right?
And then labeling them Harry Potter model, and then making them giant, like heat-seeking, body-seeking grenades.
Yeah. Well, now that I've read the whole thing, we said this about the Gunslinger specifically when we were talking about it. I don't think the Gunslinger would work if it wasn't Stephen King.
Yeah.
If you did not have that iconic label attached to the Gunslinger, I don't think people would have given this a chance, because it's very weird in the beginning and abstract.
I think that's why the Gunslinger
Even though I enjoyed it was weird.
It didn't. He didn't really publish it until later. Now I kind of feel that way. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole thing works. Yeah.
But now I kind of feel that way about the whole series, because he does things that, because it's Stephen King, I'm like, that's genius. But if it was like some amateur writer, I might be a little bit more dickish about it. Like, oh, he put himself in his book. Yeah. What a loser.
Yeah. I'm iffy on that myself.
Yeah.
Like, I like it, but I'm like, oh, you just put yourself in there?
He was clearly very...
but it was necessary for this book. He had to be in it. You know?
It also seemed like he was so influenced by the hit, he just ended up putting himself in. And and he goes with the flow.
Was he not in the book at all until the hit?
What books did he write after?
I think all of them that he's in.
Yeah.
I think so.
And we see him for the first time
makes his appearance in... Is it Song? I think it makes his first appearance in Song.
Is it?
No, it's at the very end of Wolves, or is it at the end of...
I think Songs.
It might be Song of Susanna is the first one. If it's either in Song or it's at the very end of Wolves.
I don't think it's in Wolves.
Because remember, we had a whole ending section where he was writing journals.
I think that was...
Yeah, we did.
That must have been Wolves.
Afterwards.
Wolves it was at the end of Wolves or the end of Song of Susanna.
But go ahead.
Cool.
But so he there gets his cross back, which he received back in Drawing of the Three. No, it was Wastelands.
Yeah, the Wastelands.
And from John Cullum, give him the cross back, because he has to leave it at the base of the Dark Tower. And he gets a watch made from another character who shows up in some other Stephen King book and somehow has powers. I don't know that book though. Maybe folks online do. I'm not sure. And then he gets
Songs of Susanna.
It is Song of Susanna, so it was definitely after.
I believe.
By a lot. So he wasn't in it until then.
Interesting.
What else did he get there? Did he only get the watch and the cross?
Insomniac.
The book, and he gave the book away.
Yeah.
Which, as we find out, Patrick is in that book.
Yeah.
And he might have learned. It didn't matter though. Ka did what it was going to do no matter what.
I said before that I wish I would have read more of Stephen King's books before reading this, but now I think it's going to be just as cool to go and see the characters from here in the other books. So I don't really think you need one or the other.
I found it just as good that way, because I read Salem's Lot after this.
Yeah, because I'm like looking forward now to these characters.
And actually, I think it helps because I paid more attention to Salem's Lot.
Right.
Because Father Callahan is a side character. Right. He doesn't have a big thing. But every time he was on the... in the scene. I was like, monitoring.
What's he gonna do?
I was like, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
So it might be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
you can just like skip the first 30 pages because you already love the character.
Yeah.
You don't need the introduction.
You don't need the intro.
So anyway, Roland goes through the door. Actually, to go through the door, he has to go back through the pig. The
the Dixie Pig.
Dixie Pig. He has to kind of revisit all of that.
But he had Oi with him, and Oi was the only reason he was able to find that door.
Dude, I was worried about Oi. I was like, Roland's like, Oi's either going to decide to stay there and die with Jake, or he's going to come.
Because if Oi stayed, there was a...
So worried.
If Oi stayed, he was done.
Roland might not have been able to get back.
No.
He could not find that door.
Yeah, he might have been done. He would have been done a few times, actually.
Yep.
And he stayed because of what Jake told him.
Yeah.
So,
indeed.
Ache.
Dude, that was kind of heartbreaking.
Dude, I really love the section. They're getting up to it right now, where it's just a really, really little line, but it really sung out to me in such an awesome Oi moment. When they're in the Dixie Pig and they're starting to follow the trail of the breakers, who went ahead of Susanna. And they find a message that's scrawled onto the wall for them from the other breakers who are going up on ahead. And they're like, oh, thank God, like these guys are at least still alive. Like somebody's alive out there. And Susanna says something along the lines of like, oh, I hope God and Ka and everything else keep them. And Oi like agrees and is like, keep them. I'm like, yes, Oi.
The way that this just phenomenal voice of Oi, both of the audiobook guys did so good at it.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be awesome to have an Oi.
I want an Oi for
It's
sure.
like amazing. So they go through there, and then Roland meets he comes out back at the station, and then he ends up going through a door that gets them to the other place. They call it started with an F. I can't remember the title of the location.
Yeah,
Susanna had to take a train there, but he came up. It's the wall that Mia and Susanna were in her
Correct.
mind. It started with an F. I can't remember what it's called now. We don't have our fact checker there.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
What are you looking for?
The location that Susanna and Roland met.
Okay.
Met up
It's
at,
like
I jumped ahead
or-
a little bit, but it's basically right.
Yeah.
in the
No, but
spot.
that's where I'm going.
There's-
I want to go there
Yeah,
because
but then-
Yeah.
because then
We
they
get
went.
and we find out that Shimi dies. From
Yeah.
a glass cut on his foot, and he died from the radiation poison. Just bullshit way to die.
That's totally sucks.
It
After
is.
all of that, and it even sucks more. Like Stephen King basically told us that was going to happen in the last book.
Yeah.
He's like, and he stepped on a piece of glass that ended up being his end.
Yeah.
And we're like,
we
huh?
knew it was gonna happen,
And then when we find Susanna, I was like, oh man, that sucks. Roland's immediate reaction was like, oh, he teleported somebody else.
yeah.
It's like, no, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I already knew, so it didn't have that big of an impact.
It's a shitty.
And one thing
Yeah.
it's weird to me, like it didn't have a big impact, so I already knew it was gonna happen. So like, yeah, he's gonna die.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think personally, Stephen King should have left that out when it happened, but like, no, Shimi finally they're reunited. They're gonna finish together. But Roland too was just like, like out of everyone there, like Roland like loves Shimi, like a little brother, like. And then
I think
he found out he died.
I agree, Ben.
Yeah, he's like, gotta move on, whatever.
I completely agree. I think King should have left that as a surprise. It would have really ramped up the human emotion in this section after we have so many really big deaths. That would have been a complete blindside, and you're like, oh my god, Shimi's dead too? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I think he could have really drove that point home that, like, this is it. This is the last book.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not going to make it out of here alive. Yeah. So I completely agree with you, man. He should have left that as a surprise.
Maybe he thought people would just, like...
Would not care about Shimi?
Would just...
I'm done with this shit!
Die themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I was thinking about that, and he definitely, as a style... has a style where he lets you know about stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he telegraphs.
Like purposefully, you could tell. But it's like he did it in Pet Sematary too. He has this whole like emotional scene, and then he lets you know, and then you're like 3 chapters later, it happens, and you're like, "Well, I already knew that was going to happen now." But it still sucks.
Yeah.
But
and when we talked about Pet Sematary, we talked about that. Right?
Yeah. He has a.
We did.
Oh, go ahead, Captain.
I was just going to say, he does it in this story a lot, too. Yeah. And some of the times he uses it is really effective. Yeah. Like, I think, Director, you brought this up on one of the previous episodes where...
Yeah, when we were talking about Pet Sematary, where this point.
Where we're talking about the gunslinger and Eddie Dean.
He did it with Eddie.
And there is a line in there where it says, but death came between them, so they never got to finish the story. It's like, well, like, it's telegraphing it, but then you're like, who's going to die? Which one of them's going to die? Because it's not clear.
It amps the tension sometimes.
Well, the other thing that helps is the length. Because that was like 3 books ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So that does help, because then you're just like, I'm going to let this fall away from me.
If it happened 2 pages later, you'd be like, well, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Stephen King.
Yeah.
I think that was actually one of the problems with it used this way, is because it was at the very end of Shimi's last scene.
Uh-huh.
And then the next time we hear about Shimi... that's the news.
But also,
I wonder if a better spot to thrown that line in would have been at the end of Wizard and Glass, because that was the really big book where everyone fell in love with Shimi, and at the end of that he could have thrown that in there, and then we kind of would have forgotten
kind
about
of like
it,
Oi,
you know,
like he could have seen in the glass.
Yeah. Actually, that would be cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But he already did it with Oi, so maybe, I don't know. But speaking of my Oi Shimi theory, damn it.
Yeah. Maybe because it happened so fast, it seemed he made more of a point of saying that that he was going to die than with the other opinion with he said earlier.
He just may not have known that Shimi was going to die.
Or come back,
yeah. He may not even know.
Oh, you're right.
At that
like
point,
maybe
he was discovery writing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe he wrote it and was like, I know this is going to kill Shimi, but he's probably not in the story anymore.
Yeah.
But then later he's like, I'll write this piece in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that could
have been. But they get there. Well, I don't know about this, but I forgot totally about the scene where they were like running away from the underground tremor centipede.
Oh man, so awesome! Horrifying.
Yeah, it was good. It's like, dang, man. I liked it because they had Todash doors down there.
Yeah,
that were
they did,
and they were like psychically connecting with them, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna find our way out of here."
Yeah.
And for once, Susanna was correct and Roland was wrong.
Yeah, explain that.
I thought the whole book. Roland always is like pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
And Susanna had these like tins of
the
gel that started fires.
Yeah, what are they called again? The
I'm not sure.
I'm having a brain.
I'll try. I couldn't find the F.
Starts with an S.
Yeah. Roland's like, why would you need that? I can start a fire. Those smell bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they could be useful.
Yeah.
And it saved their lives.
It saved their lives. Yeah.
It did. Big time.
Dude.
I liked there's this section too. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
I like in this section too, where they go down and you get a little more story expansion on the whole Sombra and like the Crimson King's evil company.
Yep.
They have all of these doors set up. A lot of them aren't functioning anymore, but like all of the villains would go down here back in the Crimson King's heyday. And they'd go to all these terrible moments in human history.
Oh.
Like there was, and it's like a
Watch
vacation.
Abe
for them.
Lincoln's.
Yeah.
Enjoy watching Abe Lincoln get assassinated.
Yeah, or like watch the Christians getting eaten in the Roman Colosseum. Like, it's, be thrilled by the sights and the sounds of your vacation. It's like, dude, this is so evil.
Was that Sambo's doors? I thought those were the old people's doors, and the old people were sickly fascinated.
Oh, you're right, Ben. They were the old people's doors. However, the Crimson King had appropriated them and turned them into like a vacation thing.
I didn't think they could.
People.
Like, whatever door was
a lot of them were broken.
Was set to go there. Like,
a lot of them were broken.
That'd be interesting. We would never know for sure until we were able to go through.
I thought it was the old people, Andrew, who had this fascination with going to these terrible events in history.
Oh.
Because, from my understanding, no one could like fix them or do anything with these doors.
They just took you where they took you.
Well, isn't the Crimson King one of the old ones? Is that not confirmed?
No, so they say the Crimson King isn't really. He's more like he is half Prim creature and half Arthur Eld. And I think Arthur Eld is still new. He's not one of the old people. Arthur Eld is King Arthur, but it's like the old people have already come and gone. And with the time loops that they like, time is so weird at that point when it's kind of like if we learned how to control time travel, suddenly it'd be like what's old and what's new, right? There's kind of a weird cycle going on here. But I think Arthur is like kind of the first of the new people. But maybe he's close enough to the old that they're
I think he must
tied.
have had some old blood. There has to be something, well, in my opinion, there has to be something about the line of Eld that made them, it seems, more special, more powerful.
It is, for sure. Because the Prim, I mean, he was able to mate with a Prim creature. Which is, what does that mean? Maybe that means he was an old person, and that means more like genetically combined, not literally mate. I don't know. That's interesting.
But
Stephen King, I don't think is going to give us these answers.
No, I don't think he wants to.
Unlike Brandon Sanderson, who will write out encyclopedia of the history, and like you could literally like say, how does this work?
Yeah.
Well, their world works like this in physics, and he's like mapped it down to that level. Stephen King's kind of like, it's a story.
Yeah. Enjoy.
It's like it's different in their styles.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm really curious about that. But the Crimson King is actually the son of Arthur, or the half son. Oh no, he's not the half son. He is the son of Arthur Eld and a Prim creature. Which is how the theory is that's how he made it into the tower at all. So interesting. We'll have to talk about that when we get to that point, because I have a gripe.
Yeah.
Is like him being stuck on the second floor balcony. Like, we have to talk about that. But But
okay. This is going back to what we were talking about earlier. I just found the name of that station that they met at. It's Fiddick.
Oh, it was
Fiddick.
yeah.
And I loved that section where the broken down robot was like wandering around the streets going like, girls, you see, they feel satisfaction.
I was
so awesome.
I was so confused when that made its first appearance in Wolves of the Kala, when Susanna was like having a dream about being in Fiddick.
Yeah.
And I was like, where are we? How did we go from, it's a dream, what, we're in our mind? Like, I was so confused. Like, that seemed so, but then we actually visit Fiddick, and I was like, it's a tangible place. Got it.
Yeah.
Dude, I felt that way about, like, a lot of this book. Like, like, the first, like, 3 books, even though it was very clearly stated, seemed like they were all just, like, mythological places that weren't actually like the first thing just seems like you're in a dream. The gunslinger, and then like they're talking about like the Crimson King and all these creatures and all these things and like going across wastelands, and it was hard for me to grasp at first the world and the fact that like there's technology, but it was like the Wild West and like everything in this book to me felt like it was not tangible.
Dude, that's the thing about this style. It was like the opposite of any normal fantasy style where they're establishing the concreteness of the world. Yeah. They usually start on the first page with a fucking map. Yeah. Okay? And then in this book, you're like, half the time you're like, where the fuck is this like, what is this? Pockets of Dream? You don't know where you are. And it's not until the 7th book that I finally get kind of a geographical picture of how some of this works. Right. With Midworld and then the Kalas and, Thunderclap. And then I'm finally in Fiddick and where the station is in Blue Haven. Like, they all seem like different levels of a game. Like, you beat the level and it skips everything and you're in the next level. Right. Right? But and then finally in this one, I'm like, oh, that's how they connect. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that makes a little bit more sense.
It also doesn't help that there's a lot of traveling done through like doors.
Yeah.
It's like,
gateways.
But that's how they connect.
In my opinion, that's part of the charm. Magical door. It's kind of part of the charm of it too, though, because it's what makes it so different than any other fantasy epic. It's like, there is not really a good map. Yeah. Like, and even half the time they're like, oh, it used to be, but distance doesn't work the same way anymore. It's all over the place.
Yeah, or time.
Stretching.
Or time.
Which is real because space-time's connected. So it's like, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What do you guys think?
Cut it here.
Yeah, take a break, and then we got to start talking about... I really do want to visit the underground tremor-like creature because I'm really curious about what Captain thinks. And
we can stuff from there.
I would like to. And then we might as well go all the way through
to the end.
Let's do it, baby.
Theories that we've kind of dabbled in a little bit.
We have dabbled a little. Mm-hmm. All right.
Cheers.
Let's cheers. We'll see you guys next episode.
Where we have
this
the second half of the book.
Whatever it is called nowadays.
Girls, you can't tell if they're real. They see, they feel, you feel satisfaction. Alright, we're ending it on that note.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.